Hi, good morning. My name is Kenny Tan. Welcome to the Real Beast Academy's weekly real estate sales training, aka Santa Mac Weekly Sales Training. Now, today I got a special guest. We were having difficulty putting him on the screen and sharing screen. Hopefully, everything works out. Okay, but if we're not able to share screen, I'll have him back another day. But today, I just at least want to introduce him to you guys so you know what he looks like. All right, you are on. Okay, so let me go ahead and make sure I select all camera. Okay, now Dominic, they're looking at you on the screen, but you can't really see them. Okay,
Good.
all right.
No problem.
My special guest is actually from Rentspree, and his name is Dominic Rollins. He has been helpful in very helpful in helping me set up our Rentspree so we can start using Rentspree and be very efficient in the way we screen tenants. So today he's gonna share with us some tips and maybe perhaps if the screen is available, he's be able to share his screen with us and uh, and then we can enjoy some features and benefits from Rentspree. So why don't you go ahead and self-introduce and tell us what you do and what you're going to share with us today.
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. Happy Tuesday. My name is Dominique Rollins. Today, I will be discussing Rentspree. What Rentspree is a tenant screening platform, but we also offer nuances like rent payment, e-sign documents, rent estimate. Also, we have renters insurance. So if you're looking into the property management field, we have you covered. If you're looking to screen tenants at a low price, we have you covered. So essentially, we are here to make your rent process, your rental process, along with your property management process, easy as possible. And I feel like this is an added value. Essentially, it's going to be free for you guys to use. Your tenants, potential tenants, will pay a small fee of $30, and everyone's happy. So I would like to go ahead, just give a short demonstration. I'll take you through how to create an account, how to add a listing. Once you add a listing, you'll go ahead and put all the property credentials and all that good stuff in.
All right, may I
And then
trouble
from,
you to share screen with me so I can share my screen with them?
yeah, let's see what we can do. Um, and please let me know if you're having troubles viewing my screen.
Ah, I see your screen. Hold on. Let me share my screen so they can see. All right. Everybody is seeing my screen now. So if you can enlarge your image, that will make it easier for them.
Enlarge the image, yes, sir. Uh, how does that look?
Yeah, this is great. Now it's
Okay.
too big. Now it's too big. You can't really see. All right, all right. Okay.
How about now?
Okay, this is better. This is better. All right, go ahead
Great.
and start with your presentation so we can all be seeing the same thing. Now, I'm seeing your screen and I'm sure they are seeing your screen as well. Now, if you
Okay.
guys can't see his screen, let me know. Okay, I'm sure you can because you're watching the same thing I am watching. All right, go ahead, Dominic.
Yes. And if there are any questions, feel free to let me know, Kenny. And then from there, I can answer 'em spot on.
Okay.
But to get started, this is tenant screening made easy with Rentspree, presented by myself, Dominique Rollins, along with the company of Center Mac Realty. So moving forward, you guys will have access to your own Rentspree page. It's going to have the Center Mac Realty verbiage along with the logos, so it is your personalized page. We encourage everyone to log in and create an account through the Center Mac Realty subdomain or URL, so your team is credited for any transaction that's completed. So, for example, once you go ahead and complete a tenant screening, or let's say that a transaction is completed for the $30 just to get the credit report and score, your team will be sent 15% of that amount. So keep in mind, whenever you are completing transactions, this is a whole team effort. Just moving forward. Just some added benefits of what Rentspree is. Essentially, we're going to save you time when you're accessing reports. Typically, the process takes up to 10 hours, minimum of 10 hours, and then essentially it can lead up to days. If you have missing content in forms, or if you're missing information, essentially that can be a tedious back and forth. With our process, we go ahead and elicit the information from the potential tenants. You're updated. You have essentially a live update of the statuses of the reports, and then you can see when they're returned, if they're not returned, or if there's something missing. You'll be able to spot it on right then and there. But essentially, long story short, our process takes about an hour. You can go ahead and send out the report, the requester fill out a report, tenants send it over back, and essentially you can get it instantly, 30 minutes. So we also reduce liability. So essentially, you're not handling any social security numbers or anything like that, any confidential payment information. You're going to refrain from gathering that up. We'll leave that to the potential tenants, so you won't have to be at risk or liability for those potential mishaps. And then lastly, like I reiterated, there's going to be no cost to you. So essentially, it's going to be free for you guys to use. Your renters will pay $30 to apply. They'll get their credit report and score. Keep in mind, it is going to be a soft pull. It will not negatively affect their credit report. So keep in mind that's going to be an added bonus. And then also, you'll have access to the information for 30 days on our platform. You can always save it as a PDF, or you can share it and print it out. But essentially, if you're looking from our platform, which I'll show you a little later, you'll have access to that information. All right, just moving along with some of the pillars that we offer. So essentially, it's going to be a fully mobile responsive experience. So we do not have an app, but whether you're accessing us from a laptop or desktop, you'll be good to go, and everything is smooth. Like I stated, it's going to be a soft pull, and that's going to be through TransUnion. So it's a TransUnion credit report, comes with the score, collections, trade line, very detailed, and then also has the criminal background check. Um, with that, we also have the eviction history. It covers all 50 states. And then, as I stated a little earlier, you can share these reports. You'll have access to them for 30 days, but you can always save them as a PDF and share them across the platform, or you can just send it via email to another team member if need be. Now, winding down, we also offer acceptance and denial letters. So we have safely communicated rental decisions to applicants. We also offer the CAR LRA form, which is the California Association of Realtors LRA form. So you can go ahead and access it. All you would need is your car number, and then you're good to go. And then lastly, we also offer e-signatures. So for e-signed documents, opposed to printing them out, sending them over, or faxing them to potential tenants or maybe another owner or landlord or whatever the case, you can go ahead and complete the transaction all online with e-signed documents, which I'll show you as well. All right. So now we'll go ahead and take a look at the page. So this is going to be your new Rentspree subdomain. And let's go ahead and open up a new window. Excuse me. Uh-oh. All right. Now, is this large enough for you guys?
Yeah, yeah, it's good. It's good.
Okay. So right here, you'll log into your URL. Excuse me. It'll be rentspree.com/CenterMac. So as you see, your logo's there, verbiage is there, good to go. Now you're wondering, okay, what is this? Now you'll have three opportunities: started or start screening. You can hit start screening, log in, or get started. That will allow you to create an account. Now, before we go ahead and get started with creating an account, I do want to shed some light over a huge bonus that you guys have to offer. It's free for you guys. It's a
Oh,
demo.
okay.
Yes, you'll hit request a demo, and then you'll choose a date and time that works for you. They are available Monday through Friday. We just added weekend support, so now you also have support via Saturdays that will be launched in the beginning of November. And they're available 7 to 5 each day. You'll go ahead and choose a date and time that works for you. So let's say 3:15. You'll put in your name, your email, your phone number, and then you'll select the reason why you'd like to have the meeting. Essentially, it's going to be a 15-minute Zoom call, and then from there you can get one-on-one guidance or training. Or if you have any questions, essentially our customer support staff will answer your questions in that time frame. So let's go ahead and get started. You'll hit get started, or keep in mind you can hit login, and then you'll go ahead and put in a new email and password. Just needs to be 8 characters or more. So let me go ahead and just create a new one. Okay. Read the terms of agreements, and then you'll hit sign up with email. Now you'll need to verify via email. So it's pretty quick, honestly. You'll check as you see instantly. You'll click to verify, and now that will allow you to create and access your Rentspree account. So once you hit continue, now you have the opportunity to add listings. Let's hit add new listing. Now you have the opportunity to put in the property address credentials. So let's just go super simple, 123 North Beverly Ave. You'll put in the unit number, city and state, along with the zip code, and then you'll choose whether or not you're representing the landlord or property or the applicant. More times than not, we'll represent the landlord. So let's go ahead and just click that. And now we have just a few more information, just a few much just to put in. You'll choose whatever you guys like, whatever fits accordingly. You'll go 3 bedroom. Let's do 3 baths. Monthly rent. And now we'll do the square feet and the year built. Great. Then you'll hit next, which will go later. Now you'll have an opportunity to solicit the reports from your applicants. You'll go ahead and hit screen new tenants. And once this loads up, it'll allow you 3 separate ways to go ahead and get the report or send the report over to your team. So once this loads up, as you see, we'll choose whether or not the application fee will be paid by yourself or the applicant. Let's go applicant. You also have access to the car rental application. Like I stated, you'll just need to put in the broker name along with your NRDS ID and last name, and then you'll be good to go. But just for presentation purposes, let's just keep it simple. We'll go rental application, and if you'd like to include the criminal background check and eviction report along with the credit report and score, you can do so right here. And as you see, it's a small fee of $30. Now, you have 3 options in sending the report. So essentially, you can send it via email. Super simple. Just go email, and then you can hit send. Or you can send it over via text, and it works super simple. Let's check what it looks like via email. As you see, super fast. You'll hit apply now. And now your applicants have the opportunity to apply. As you see, the agent owner name is displayed, property address displayed, along with the requested information in the reports. Now, you also have the opportunity to have a share apply link. So this is simple. You would copy, and then you can paste this, let's say on a Facebook post, Instagram posting, Twitter, whatever social media you use. Or for example, if you have a website where you go ahead and list properties, you can attach a description along with the share apply link at the bottom, and that'll allow your tenants to easily click apply and essentially expedite the process. And lastly, my personal favorite, also Kenny has had experience using this, is the print screening handout. You'll hit print, and once it's printed, as you see, you have a QR code. What you'll do is you'll take your smart device, camera phone, you'll go ahead and hover over this QR section. What this will do will bring you to the same link as if we sent it via email or via text, and you can go ahead and your applicants can apply that way. All right. Now, moving forward, you're probably wondering, okay, well, we went ahead and added the listing. We sent the report over to the tenant. What does a report look like, and how can we check the status of a report? So, whenever you're looking at your listings, you can go over and choose a listing, and then from here, you can go to tenant screening, and that will allow you to see the different statuses of the reports. So if the request was sent, obviously 2 minutes ago, it has not been filled out yet, so you'll see the request sent. Now, if you see the renter has started, you'll see renter started. Now, if the renter is not interested, what that means is that they hit not interested in the recurring emails that we send out. So, for example, this is the initial report that was sent. If they don't reply or respond in the first 2 days, we'll go ahead and send recurring messages. Once they hit "I'm not interested," that means that those messages will no longer be sent. So now, as you see the different statuses, let's go ahead and take a look at a completed report. And once this refreshes, we can take a look. So we'll take Tabitha for an example. And as you see, you'll have a couple options. You can filter out through different tabs: application, credit report, background, eviction. But for practice purposes, we'll go along the whole report. And as you see, it's super detailed, has personal information, your surface level rental application information. And then once we get a little lower, you'll see the detailed credit report and score. Comes with trade lines, also credit history and all that good stuff. And keep in mind, if there are any questions, feel free to ask, and then we can have Kenny
Yeah,
relay them over to me.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I'm curious about what the criminal and eviction record would look like. Are they attached to the credit report, or are they separate PDFs?
Yes, sir. So they will be a part of the whole PDF. So let's say that we want to save this. Mm, It might take a few seconds, but essentially, once it saves, I'll display. But what you're getting is this full report. Now, if there was an eviction history, you would have access to it too. Excuse me. So let's take a look at the PDF. You'll have your full report, and then as you see, which is a good thing, there is no eviction history or criminal history once we can get down here,
Okay,
along with the eviction history.
okay,
Yes, sir. So that is a full display of the report. Now, keep in mind, if you do want to utilize an added feature that we have for you guys, which is Rentspree Pro, we'll do reference checks for you. So essentially, you don't have to contact a current employer, former employer. Same that goes for current and former landlord. We'll go ahead and contact them for you. Now, this is typically a $9.99 per month charge, where we'll do the verification checks for you, along with the gatherings of W-2s, tax returns, bank statements, proof of income, a verification of a pet. Let's say that they say the pet is 10 pounds and I don't know, barely 2 feet, but it shows up as a 50-pound dog and it's almost 6 feet. We can essentially bypass those mishaps with these verifications in RentSpree Pro. Now, like I mentioned, it's an added service, but I'm offering RentSpree Pro for the first 10 people to join and sign up for the account. I'll go ahead and display the RentSpree Pro code at the end of the call. And once you go ahead and log into your RentSpree account, you'll go ahead and put in that code, and that'll be good for a full year. You'll have access to this added feature for a full year. In winding down, I do want to touch over the e-sign document aspect of it. So we can go over to, and we'll go over to just e-sign docs once this loads up. And that'll allow us to go ahead and get prepared to send out for the lease. So once this loads up, we're going to actually use the car LRA form. You'll see it's super simple to fill out the designated sections, and then obviously it's easy to just send the report over back to the tenant so they can fill out using our platform for e-sign as well. And it will be free of charge for your applicants to use. Do we have any questions regarding the e-sign document aspect of Rentspree? Okay. And just super simple. You go ahead and just fill in information, excuse me. Okay. And you'll hit next. And once you put in that information and once this loads, you'll see super simple for you to add information accordingly. Keep in mind, this is free of charge for you guys to take advantage of. All right. So moving back, we're winding down on the presentation. I do want to just touch over our newest add-on, which is rent payment. It's going to be huge for you guys to take advantage of. It's going to be free of cost for you guys to use. Essentially, your tenants, whenever owners are using it, owners will not pay. Applicants, tenants, they'll use and pay a small fee of $3. But the way your owners, landlords, they'll get started. They'll hit start collecting rent. They'll agree to the terms and conditions. They'll choose the property. And then from there, you'll add the tenant information. You'll hit next. You'll put in the amount, the monthly amount for rent. Let's say $20.75, and then you'll put, let's say, third of each month. First payment will be made on November 3rd, which is actually my birthday. And then you can put the amount of months you'd like for the duration of the lease. Let's say it's 36 months. You'll have the total amount, list of transactions, and then from here, you'll hit next. You'll want to put in your bank information. Keep in mind it's through Plaid, so it's safe. And then also we do have a copied terms and conditions to send if you have owners, landlords, or applicants who'd like just verification of the safety of this new feature. We can provide that for you as well. So once you go ahead and put in your information for banking, you'll be good to go. And now you can receive payments. And that is a total rundown essentially of the rent payment configuration. And lastly, we do offer renters insurance. I won't get too much into that, but essentially that is an added feature that we have for you to take advantage of. All right. So that is essentially a rundown of the Rentspree platform. I do want you to take note of the URL that you will use to sign into your accounts. Keep in mind your accounts are free to join, so please, the sooner the better. And essentially, you don't want to miss out on the opportunity for the pro code. So go ahead and take advantage. Your pro code will be CenterMac Pro 2021. Again, your pro code will be CenterMac Pro 2021, and that will give you access to Rentspree Pro. You'll have access, we'll gather up W-2s, confidential information like bank statements, and then we'll verify references, whether they're old or current, for your applicants. Any questions?
For the rent payment, does the money go through Rentspree or immediately is directly from the tenant to the landlord?
Yes, so typically we say it takes about 5 days, but it goes directly to your landlord.
So the tenant pays through what means? Wire transfer or how does it work?
So it's through the ACH. It should be the wire transfer, like online checks,
Yes.
or the online payment with the like a debit card. So we have you put in your bank account, and then from there you'll go ahead and pay via debit or the electronic check.
All right, let me put you back on the screen here so they can say goodbye to you. All right, good job on the presentation. I like it, very efficient. Okay.
Yes, yes. Thank
Uh,
you. I
yeah,
appreciate everyone. It was a pleasure connecting with you. By all means, if you have any questions, I'll send Kenny. Well, Kenny has my information. I'll send out a follow-up email along with my information in case you guys would like to have a discussion with me, or if there are any nuances that you'd like to learn more about. By all means, you can reach out to me or take advantage of the customer support staff on your page. So yeah,
I'll
thank you. I appreciate it, team.
I have to share with you guys uh, how much I like this Rentspree because it makes tenant screening so much easier. No more moving around documents from email to Google Drive, and then you have to share your Google Drive link. The only thing I'm kind of curious though, now if the landlord wants to see the reports, do they create a Rentspree account or how do they get to see the reports?
Yes. So, creating a Rentspree account is easy for landlords or owners. What they'll do is they'll go ahead and create, you'll have an option to choose whether or not you're an agent, owner, or an applicant, excuse me, or a tenant. And then you'll choose what applies to you. And then from there, you can get the information across the platform, obviously through communications with agents and whatnot.
Now the
So there
reports
is.
are, excuse me for interrupting.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
No, no. So I was just gonna say you do have access across the platform as an
My
as an
my my,
owner or
my
landlord.
question is the reports are received to my in my account. How does the landlord, by creating an account in Rentspree, get access to the reports that are received in my account?
Yeah. So if you want, I can go ahead and just share my screen just for a quick second,
Yeah,
and I'll
sure.
show you. I'll show you where you'll go ahead and let me pull up the correct.
Hold on a second. Let me see. Make sure I got the. All right. Yeah. Go ahead and show me the screen.
Okay. Am I? Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're going to send the report, which is super simple. I'll just take you through the steps of that. Okay. All right. Now, once we're finished loading up, you'll have just a couple of options. You can save it, you can save as PDF, or you can share. We'll hit the share button, and that'll allow us to hit the recipient's email and send it via email that way. So you'll have the full report via that way.
Okay. My understanding is that you can only attach one PDF at a time. How does that work?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So you'll go ahead and if you have multiple listings, let's say we'll go to my listings, you'll choose whatever listing applies that you'd like to send over, and then that'll allow you to just send over oops. You'll go ahead and send over that way.
It's being done this way because the landlord does not have a Rentspree account.
Yes, yes. If
Okay.
the if there was a landlord, there'd be an easier way for them to access the report. But since there is no landlord, this is just the easiest way. Just to send it via email, and then you'll have the full PDF.
You see, the landlord, sometimes they want to go through all the applications. So, what's the best way to handle it? If the landlord says, well, Kenny, I know you're helping me with the screening, but I want to be able to see. Now, maybe I shortlist of, let's say I got 10 applications. I
Hmm.
shortlisted three, I think, will be qualified tenants application, and I have the landlord look at the three. how can they look at the three without receiving three separate emails from me?
So, if I had another account, like a landlord account, I could show you.
Mm-hmm.
They would have, what they would do is they would just go ahead and log into this, this property, and they would have access to the reports, with the listing. So whatever listing, and not the specific, excuse me, not the specific applicant, but just the actual listing. They'll have access to these reports, and then they can see the reports that way.
How can they have access to the reports without? Uh, this is what's inside my account.
Yes.
Is there like a link I send to them so they can see what's inside the listing?
Yes, you'll go ahead, and there's a specific link. Like I stated, unfortunately, I don't have access to it because I'm
Mm-hmm.
not on a landlord account. But you
Yeah.
would send it over that way, and that would be your that would be your easiest way if you're not going to send it via email,
All right.
via
Okay.
PDF.
Okay. Because of time constraint, we're gonna leave this till next time. All right.
Okay.
And a nice overview. And thank you so much for coming by. So this is where we say goodbye. And I appreciate you coming and share with us today. I hope to see you again next time on our live stream. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you all. I appreciate it. If there are any more questions, feel free to reach out once the follow-up email is sent.
All right. All right. Okay. Then I'm just gonna go ahead and move on to my own screen. Okay. All
Okay.
right. I'll talk to you later,
Yes,
Dominic.
sir. Talk to you
Okay.
later. Have a good one,
Okay.
everyone.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Well, as you can see, Rentspree is actually a very good application for those of you, and I would encourage you to start doing some rental listing. The money may be small, but you can actually build up a very strong database with by doing rental listings. Not only with landlords, landlords are investors themselves, and they may have other opportunities they might seek your services for, and it's good to have that in the database. Now, as far as the tenants go, some of these tenants that you come across, they are potential home buyers in the future. So if you have a good relationship with them and you continue to maintain relationship with them, and our plan is to maintain relationship with these tenants or prospective tenants, just so that we can start promoting our real estate sales services, home purchase, or mortgage loan services to these prospective tenants who is sometime in the future is going to need these services. So don't think of them as, of course, it's small money. That is true, but then at the same time, with the help of Rentspree, it's actually not difficult if you plan everything properly. Of course, my last one I did not plan everything properly. If you plan everything properly, one open house should take care of it. One weekend of open house, you should be able to find the tenants that you want. Just to share with you an example, we did one for a property in Castro Valley. We received 6 applications. We wind up choosing one after the first weekend of open houses. And the San Leandro one is going to take a little bit longer just because many tenants don't like the fact that there's going to be an ADU constructed in the backyard. So that is going to be a hard sell. So, but I did receive one application, so maybe that tenant is willing to put up with the construction of the ADU. Okay, so much for that. Now let's move on to the second topic for the day. Okay, let me go to my slide, and this is my slide. Now, today we're going to talk a little bit about mindset. Why is mindset so important? You're wondering. Well, because your mindset determines how much you make, how much money you make. If you have a stronger mindset, then you're probably going to be making more money. Versus a weaker mindset, you're going to be making less money. So, having a strong mindset is extremely important in the success of a real estate agent. How to strengthen your mindset so that you can better handle rejection and make more sales. Uh, I watched some of my Ferry's YouTube videos, and I came up with a few important points that I want to share with you. And I myself experience those points that I can validate. And let's start with point number one. Now, the point number one is talking about always be honest with yourself about your skills. See, if you are not, if your skills are not strong, uh, you suffer from the fact that you're going to be lacking in confidence. When you're lacking confidence, uh, you're easily succumbed by rejections. If somebody rejects you, then you start wondering, well, maybe it's my skills. I'm just not good enough. See, that's why you always have to hone in on your skills. When I'm talking about skills, I'm talking about your sales skills. And that's why we're having this sales training week after week after week after week, because by attending this training, you can hone in your skills and become more confident, because knowledge equals confidence, ignorance equals the fear. I'm sure many of you can relate to that. And some of our agents that really did very well, before they got that confidence, they were very timid. They were, you know, they have to build their confidence by building their knowledge. Once you get more experience, if you only do a couple of transactions, of course, your knowledge is limited. And as a result, you lack confidence because there's ignorance. So be honest with yourself about your skills. You got to practice your scripts. When I was doing prospecting, of course, I practice every morning, because I start prospecting at about 8 a.m. in the morning. I'll prospect for a couple of hours. And if you do it like on a daily basis for a couple of months, you would have the scripts memorized. You can use the scripts with a lot of confidence, and you can handle objections with a lot of confidence. It's not a difficult thing. I mean, the level of difficulty is low, okay? But I think if your mindset is not strong enough, you will easily give up. And uh, one other way to strengthen your mindset is point number two. Failure is not an option. See, when I was doing prospecting, and one biggest reason I started doing prospecting, because I had a goal in 2019. 2019 was when we decided to do something about the Diamond Bar office. And in order to do what I wanted to do, I have to bring in $300,000 in revenue. How am I going to rely? I can't rely on my agent to bring in 300,000. So I'm going to have to take it upon myself to do it. So what is the quickest and best way to do it is to prospect. So when I prospect, I kept thinking about the 300,000. So much so that I can't let rejection. Every day I'm seeking rejection. I'm looking forward to being rejected by you. You set a target for the number of rejections you are going to encounter. Once you reach that number, you can quit. Okay. For example, when you prospect, you can set a target for, okay, all right, my target for number of rejections that I want to receive is 20. So you keep calling until you get 20 rejections, and then you can quit. Okay. So failure is not an option. Why is it that agents that work full time are doing better than agents that work part time? Because when you work part time, failure is an option because you always have another job. But if real estate is your only job, failure is not an option. So, you better have a stronger mindset, or you go home. Okay, now, and don't take the path of least resistance. If you're always waiting for people to call you, if people don't call you, don't call them, that's taking the path of least resistance, because that's easier to just wait for people to call you. Okay, so that's the second point. And the third point is absolute unwavering desire to achieve the goal you set. See, when I set that goal of $300,000 in revenue in 2019, that desire is strong enough to have caused me to drive all over California. I mean, I was driving all over to San Diego, to Palm Springs. In the Northern California, I drove to Patterson to sign a listing in Patterson, which I got anyway. I converted. So when your desire is strong enough, you're not going to let yourself fail. You do whatever it takes to get that listing signed. Okay, so that is having a strong mindset. So when I go for listing presentation, you can actually feel the intensity. It's either I get it or I go home. Okay, so absolute unwavering desire to achieve the goal you set. I gotta have 300,000, or else I don't have the money to do the construction for Diamond Bar. So that was a very strong goal that I set for myself. Okay, be in a positive personal and business environment. We become like the people we associate with. If you associate with losers, of course you're going to become a loser. So if you want to become a winner, be around people that are winners. Okay, attend training such as this one, where you're always going to be surrounded by people who are stronger in mindset, who are positive. Be around with positive thinkers. Okay, keep expanding our minds. See, when I was doing prospecting, every night I would listen to Audible, those audio book. I read a new book like every other night, or maybe every 3 nights or so, just through audiobook. Before I go to bed, I'll listen to it. And those are good motivational books. Okay, books such as Think and Grow Rich. Okay, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I've listened to that audiobook for many, many times. Okay, so just keep expanding your mind, and don't look at negative news. I hardly read news these days. Okay, I don't watch TV. I don't even watch internet for entertainment. But anyway, I'm not asking you not to watch TV, but you got to stay focused, and always watch or read stuff that helps to motivate you. Don't read all the negative stuff. Okay. All right. That concluded the topic on how to strengthen your mindset. Now we're going to talk a little bit about how to win friends and influence people. Rule number 13: begin in a friendly way. Sometimes we have to constantly remind ourselves, even when you're right, you don't even try to prove the other person's wrong. This morning I got a call from a loan agent that wanted my seller to install the strap, or maybe readjust the strap, just so that the buyer can get their loan. I actually said no to her, and the reason I said no to her is because one of my biggest concern is that what if my buyer went out and got a handyman to do it, and then they came back and say, well, it wasn't done right. It did not pass the appraiser's requirement, and that delayed close of escrow. I would rather just pay them money to do it. I was about to get into that argument with the the loan officer, but I kept thinking, well, Kenny, don't argue with her. Just tell her nicely that, we've already responded to the buyer's request for repairs. We agreed to pay $3,500 for the buyer to make all repairs. That's including restrapping the water heater. And what the loan officer said was that, well, we don't want the buyer to pay for it. Uh, but I don't necessarily get the point. We're not asking the buyer to pay for it, but they don't want the buyer to do it. They want us to do it. My position is that I'm selling the property in its as is condition. I really have no obligation to make any repairs. But as I said, I only refuse to do it out of fear that if we undertake to do it, if we don't do it right, it might cause a delay in escrow. So before I say yes to her, I gotta check with my seller. Okay, that's just an example of how I could have handled it a little bit better. Okay, I could have used a friendlier tone when I talked to her. But you always have to. Sometimes you're in an escrow. You think you're right, but the other person doesn't think you're right. So that's why my next slide, it's important. It says a drop of honey catches more flies than a gallon of gall, and of course this is from Abraham Lincoln. Okay, so basically, if you don't have to get into an argument, you don't have to get into the hostile situation. Try to avoid that. You have more friends this way. Okay, you can accomplish the same thing by being nice, friendlier in your tonality. If you come at me with your fees double, I think I can promise you that mine will double as fast as yours. That's from Woodrow Wilson. So I think it's human nature. Sometimes we react to the way people treated us. Uh, in the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, there's actually an example. If you're a tenant, if you felt that the landlord is charging a rent that is too high for you, instead of going to the landlord and complain about how unreasonable his rent is, you could have used a different approach. The book says, and the example that was given in the book, and the tenant was successful in lowering the rent when the other tenant could not get the landlord to lower the rent. The approach he used was he used a drop of honey. So basically, he went to see the landlord and say, "Hey, you know what? You rent the property well, you know, and this is really a nice place, but I really wanted to continue to live here, but unfortunately, I don't think I can afford it." Okay, so he went about, instead of complaining or criticizing the landlord that he's charging too much of a rent, he did it the other way. He's saying that, hey, you rent a very good place, you deserve the rent that you're charging, but you focus on yourself that, hey, the problem is you. The problem is not the landlord. I cannot afford it. Okay, that's why I'm asking you for help to lower my rent. So because he did it in a friendly way, he actually got the landlord to lower the rent. So I think sometimes, uh, you know, the way we talk to people matters. So we have to kind of keep reminding ourselves about a drop of honey. Okay. Be hearty in your approbation and lavish in your praise. So always think about, you know, before you ask for a favor, you see, if you want the rent reduced, aren't you be asking a favor from the landlord? Because it's a written lease. The landlord has no obligation to lower your rent. So why would you want to go complain to the landlord about the rent being too high, or the landlord? The minute you start saying that he's unreasonable, you're basically going with him with the fees double. And of course, you can bet that he's going to have his fees double as well. Okay, so use a different approach. Use a friendly approach. You might get him to agree to lower the rent, and then the whole complexion actually changes. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about the last topic. Okay, I got about 10 minutes. I want to show you about how to draft a residential lease that is a win-win for all. I did it this morning because I just selected a tenant. Now it's time to draft a lease. So I'm going to do my share screen with you. Okay, and this time I'm going to share my zip form plus with you. I hope everybody's still there. Nobody's talking. If you're still there, say hi. Let me know you're still there. Nobody's saying anything? Let's see. Oh, good. Thank you. You're still here. Great. Excellent. Thank you, Tanya. Okay, now I am in my broker edition. Great. Awesome. Okay, everybody's still awake. Great. Now, I just did it this morning. I wanted to show you what I drafted and what I used. Okay. Let's start with templates. I want to show you an addendum. Now let's go to clauses, and let's use global clauses. I created this clause, which is a very useful clause. I might add that it can be applied to across the board. That's why I call it global clauses, because it can be used throughout the United States, not just in California. So we can make it global and have this thing be available to all agents across the United States. Now, you can take a look at it, and I'll briefly go over it. This is not very easy to read, so maybe I'll use a different format. I'll go over this with you, okay? But it is a clause. You can actually add clause to addendum easily. It's a standard clause. It's got about a lot. It's got about 16 paragraphs in it. Okay, if you look at it, it's got 15 paragraphs. They are all beneficial. Most of it is actually in the landlord's favor, but some of it is in the tenant's favor. But it is a win-win because it clarifies the parties' obligations so that you don't have to second guess or start thinking about, well, start guessing as to what each other's obligations are. Okay, so it is here for use. And of course, our TC will be trained how to use the clause. So the next time when they draft your residential lease agreement, now I plan to have TC draft the residential lease agreement for you, so you don't have to do the work. They'll actually do the work, but you get to review and approve it. Okay, they're going to be excellent in drafting the residential lease in a way that protects your landlord's interest, and also if you represent the tenant, it also has some conditions in there that are helpful to the tenant. All right, so I'm going to get out the clause. So as far as the transaction goes, I also have another template. I call it the Residential Lease Package California. And inside that package, I open it, you will see some forms that are going to be required forms most of the time. So you might as well have it in your template. Okay. First one is just the residential lease month-to-month rental agreement. Second one is the move-in, move-out. That is the form that will be used if you have a tenant that has just signed a lease with your landlord. Before they move in, you want to have a walkthrough with the tenant just so that both parties are on the same page on the conditions of the property. So whatever observations that the tenant make, the tenants can actually write down notes on the move in, move out. Now, if the tenant just signed the move in, move out form without any observations, if at the return of the property, upon the return of the property, there are some deficiencies, then it will be chargeable to the tenant because it wasn't noted in the move-in part of the form. So this form would have to be used twice. Once before the tenant moves in, and once just prior to the tenant moving out. So the move-in and the move-out form. It's a standard form. That's why it's in the template. And then the next one is actually a booklet. And it is called Residential Environmental Hazard Booklet. So this should be part of the template. Okay. So that every time when you apply the template, the form is right there for you to use. Okay. Next one is called the Key Safe Lockbox Addendum and Tenant. Now this particular form is useful in case your landlord is planning on rehiring you to look for the next tenant prior to the tenant moving out. You know, sometimes the tenant may not renew the lease. If the tenant doesn't renew the lease, the landlord may re-engage you to look for a future tenant. Now, before the existing tenant moves out, you can actually install lockbox just so that makes it easier for showing purposes. So this is the key safe lockbox addendum that is available. It's just a right that you can secure using this form, but you're not required to have this form. There's no law that requires that you have this form. Next one is called the mold and ventilation addendum. You know, I think in every single residential lease, it's always good to have this addendum just so that, you know, if there's mold on the property and it's due to the tenant not maintaining the property, this is actually an agreement between the landlord and the tenant regarding certain things that the tenant are required to do to keep the property free of mold, or that require the tenant not to do to keep the property free of mold. Okay, so very important addendum. I always include it when I sign residential lease. Now the third one is the one that we want to look at. It's called the now earlier, if you see me harbor, if you added this form, of course this form is a template. I did was I added the clause here, the global clause that I showed you earlier. Okay, now I want to share with you what are some of the important provision in here. Now this is very long because some of these paragraphs might be cut off. Hopefully it goes into overflow. Okay, but there are a few important points that I thought is helpful for the landlord. You know, you don't want to have a tenant calling the landlord about burnt out bulbs or batteries in the smoke detector running low. You want the tenant to take care of it, so you can actually put it in your lease agreement that they'll take care of replacing battery for smoke detectors, carbon monoxide, or any light bulbs that need to be changed. You also want the tenant to be responsible for the prevention and treatment of ants and common spiders or bugs in or around the property. I think the reason is then the tenant will be more careful about their living condition. You know, then they will pay more attention to their cleanliness because they are going to be responsible for taking care of bugs, taking care of roaches and things like that. You see, sometimes when you have roaches in the apartment or in the dwelling, it's not necessarily due to the fault of the landlord. Sometimes it's just that the tenant's not taking care of the cleanliness around the house. And then the third one is talking about changing air filters every 4 to 6 months. So if you can make the tenant agree to changing the air filters, that would be great, because then way you don't have to worry about the tenant calling you about F filter needing to be changed. So I think it's something that is good to have. And then number 4 is talking about dishwasher, because you don't want a tenant calling you about dishwasher if they don't pay attention to the way they use the dishwasher. So these are the minor things that you want the tenant to just kind of take care of it, especially when you're charging a lower rent. I think it might be easier to convince the tenant to agree to that. Especially the washer thing is really not a habitability issue. No, my standard clause here is no pets, but be careful about no pets, because if the tenant is disabled, sometimes pets are necessary for the treatment of the disability. So just be careful about that. It's a standard provision, but you may have to make accommodations to a disabled tenant. And then number 6 is talking about tenant is being expected to take care of all finished appliances and services. So you don't want the tenant, you basically you want the tenant not to cause appliances services to be damaged due to the tenants not being careful. So you put this clause in here. And of course, you don't want the tenant to put all kinds of unwanted food into the garbage disposal and clog up your garbage disposal. So such as potato skin, such as celery, food that is fibrous. You want to remind the tenant not to put any kind of food like that into the garbage disposal. Number 7 is talking about maintaining the dishwasher air gap pipe connector. Yeah, I mentioned that. Number 8, landlords had the interior professionally cleaned. So you expect the tenant to return the property to substantially the same condition. So if they got a property that is professionally clean, so when you get it back, you expect that they'll return it professionally clean. That's what number 8 is for, just to ensure that the tenant will fulfill this obligation. And then on number 9 is talking about the mailbox number. Okay, mailbox number, it's a standard provision, especially when you live in a housing community. You have to specify the mailbox number in the lease so that the tenant would know what mailbox number to use. Number 10 is talking about maintaining renters insurance policy. I think these days more and more landlords are requiring the tenant to maintain the renters policy. But if your landlord does not require one, you can delete this one. I just leave it there just in case your landlord wants to use it. And number 11 is talking about after initial funds are paid, tenants are to pay rent to... Oh, okay, so after the initial first month's rent and the security deposit are paid, you need to let the tenants know in the future how they're going to pay the rent. There are several ways to pay it. Direct deposit is always the best. You don't have to worry about bounce checks. You don't have to worry about picking up checks. You don't have to worry about checks being mailed and getting lost and all kinds of problems. So if you have them do the wire transfer, they can't say I did not make the wire transfer or the wire transfer got lost. I think that's pretty rare. Okay, so now these days, if the amount is small, they can even send by Zelle or Venmo. So if your landlord prefers that, I think if you don't do, because the tenants don't like to do wire transfer, because when you do wire transfer, it's actually more expensive. When you do Zelle or Venmo, it's cheaper. So if your landlord is agreeable, you may be able to do a Zelle or Venmo. Okay. All right. Now let's see what else. I'm sure there is more, but I just can't see it. I just can't see it showing up, but hopefully I can. Oh yeah, I got it. I got it. Okay, never mind. All right, let me go to the clause manager. Maybe I can see it there. Go to clause manager. All right, we'll see the clause here. Now let's go and look at number. We went over number 11. There should have been a number 12. Somehow I skipped that one. I have to go back and fix that. Number 13 is talking about unclogging any drains. See, that's another thing because oftentimes the drains getting clogged has to do with the way the tenants not taking care of the drains. So I think if you put in the agreement, it's better. So whenever they have a clogged drain, they know it's their responsibility. They don't start calling the landlord to unclog drains. It's just not fair. You know, if they put all kinds of stuff, bad stuff into the drain and it clogs up, it's not the landlord's fault. It's the tenant's fault. The only one situation, rare situation I can think of is when there are tree roots. Tree roots can cause this problem. So if it's tree roots, it's the landlord's responsibility. Number 14 is talking about providing landlord with a forwarding address within 14 days after the tenant has moved out. So you want to make sure that the tenant gives you a forwarding address just so that you know where to return the security deposit. Number 15 is talking about key deposit. You know, if a landlord does not require key deposit, don't collect it. But key deposit is required in many instances. So I have this provision in there. Okay. Now I don't know what happened to clause number 12. I'm sure it's in here somewhere. Oh yeah. This is supposed to be clause number 12 right here, where it says in the event that an unlawful detainer is filed, direct deposit is not an authorized method. Now you want to include this one because if you don't, what happened is that if you file an eviction against a tenant for not paying their rent, now the law says after you serve them with eviction notice, after the 3 day has expired, and if you went ahead and filed eviction, now at any time during the eviction lawsuit, if the tenant proved that you received their money, that lawsuit, that unlawful detainer can be dismissed. So in order to avoid that problem, you put it in the agreement that they are not supposed to pay you any more money. They are not supposed to do any more this direct deposit. So that is to protect a situation where an unlawful detainer might be dismissed just because you allow the tenant to pay by direct deposit. So you can put a stop to it. In case, even if that happens, you prove to the judge that there was an agreement not for the tenant to pay any more money by direct deposit once there's an eviction file. So these are all the useful provision that I put in the addendum, just so that the landlord is well protected, and then the obligations of the tenants are very clear. Why did I say win-win? Because whenever you have these obligations clarified in the lease agreement, less disputes are going to happen. You see, you don't want to have disputes. Sometimes when the lease is poorly written, that's when you're going to have disputes. All right, that's it for today. I hope you guys learned a lot. Okay, it's been fun for me, and I hope everybody enjoyed. It's 12:15, so we made very good use of our time today. Okay, I'll see you guys next Tuesday night. Take care.